like to welcome everybody here to the WOW Show. We're ready to go for you right here on KUHSdenver.com. And we're going to be starting the live feed a different way because we had a little bit of difficulty with our, cameras. But we're getting it, right? Carla, where there's a will, there's a way. That's right.
Absolutely.
And so we can still see you there. And so start live video, and right now we are live up on top up there too, so I think we're going to be okay as we get going here. So hopefully we can get some callers in. If you see us right now, we're going to start taking callers, and you want to talk to Carla about anything you got to do about your business, small business, and we're going to talk about a few things. We talked about it earlier, and to see what we're going to go with what we're doing, okay? So let's get busy.
All right. So, Henry, you know, what I get sometimes in dealing with business owners is the whole disconnect sometimes, or friction that happens between men and women in business. And it's sometimes those things you don't see, you know, but actually what really happens sometimes is just how men approach business versus how women approach business. It's just like the cultural connection we have sometimes with people from different cultures. We aren't understanding sometimes their behavior because we don't understand that they have a different cultural norm when it comes to approaching prospective clients or doing business with someone or collaborating or networking or whatever it is. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today actually is kind of like that disconnect and that friction that sometimes happens predominantly between men and women. So for instance, there is people who think that women are ineffective in business simply because of their gender. They think they're too nicey nice, and they can't come out with a punch and, you know, be strong and confident because they need to be soft and get the warm and fuzzies out there when dealing with business owners. I kind of want to know, what do you think? I mean, do you think that women need to be so so connected to their gender that they are more conscious to be kinder, nicer, like that? Or do you feel that women can be just as forceful and just as strong as men and not lose any of their femininity by being confident and strong when they're approaching business matters?
You know, when you say that, I really like the way you put that, women being confident. I think women are much more strengthy in the business world than men are. I think men have the ability to produce, create, build, and do that kind of stuff, but the women, I think, for negotiation do a lot better job than men. And that's why as, CEO of their companies, or the main manager, or the top of the hierarchy, I think they do a much better job. Just watching women, there's been a lot out there, and there's a couple in the White House that are they're on top of the hierarchy, because what they say and do affects millions. And they do it in such a way where you listen to them, they're softer, they're more approachable, they have a lot of empathy. That's critical, I think, in the business world.
Absolutely.
So now remember, we had to readjust, and it's quick thinking and how we can go live, because we had the Mevo camera decide that it causes a few issues, but I thought, think. Get yourself out of this. So we're on both cameras now. Remember, we're taking call-ins, and you can talk to Carla about anything about your business, and we're welcoming everybody to please call in at any time, and let's talk. We want to hear from you. And our phone number is 720-386-0513, and we're taking calls right now, so feel free to call in, and let's talk to Carla on your views about men and women and how they react in the business world, whether men are better at it or women are better at it, being a CEO or top of the heap. What do you think?
I think part of what I see in the man-woman world of small businesses is sometimes that men they're really good about beating on their chest and saying, hey, I got this and I can do this and what have you. And when things fall apart, they still pretend that Okay, they're not crushed by whatever the event was. I I then always find out, especially if they're, male associates that I have known for a while and they're willing to share with me a little bit about whatever incident took place, they seem to take a lot longer getting over like losing a client. I had a guy who had been a client of mine for a couple of years. He was dealing with a difficult client. He had never fired a client before, and he actually had to fire this client.
Oh Lord.
And it tore him up. I mean, he was a sensitive guy and everything, but it just tore him up. And I told him, I said, you know what? I'll kind of tell you like my mother told me when I got my first divorce. She says, it's okay, honey. It's just your first one. They get easier after this, okay? And I was like, I'll never get married again, right? And it was like I had to kind of tell him that too. Is that sometimes it's that first moment where you realize you're going to have to do something kind of down and dirty in your business, but you don't need to hang on to a client that's a bad client. For whatever reason, they're bad for you, okay? Maybe they're not paying, maybe they're uncooperative, maybe they're argumentative. And I see that men, to me, seem to have a harder time with pulling that button sometimes and having to do that as a hard decision, where I feel like women kind of emotionally prepare for it ahead of time, do it, and then get over it quicker. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Women like to move on quickly. They don't like to hold on. Some do. Some will gnaw in there like a pit bull and just won't let go and want they're scorned. They want revenge and they want to get after it. I'm not sure why. Same with men. Men can do it also. So it could happen in the business world, just doing a contract or doing something.
Mm-hmm.
A woman beats you out of that contract, and you just get so upset that you're obsessed with trying to beat her out, and then forget about what you're doing. And you could screw up your whole business trying to go after somebody to beat her at this, the bidding game.
Right.
Because out there, there's a bidding game that goes on all the time, and when you do that bidding game, you're competing with women.
Yes, yes. And I think competition definitely can sometimes play into it, whether you're competing against your opposite gender or the same gender. But I think some of that is the competitive entrepreneurial spirit, which can be good, but it needs to be healthy.
Now, one thing, do you think that females can get those contracts better using their femininity and their sweetness and trying to move it on like that? So I think that they have that capability also. You think or no?
I think that there are still certain women in business that want to use those feminine wilds, isn't that what they used to call them back in the day?
I can't believe you remembered that word.
To get
that.
over. I don't know so much about how that really comes into play. Seeing I haven't been to as many networking events because of COVID, and so much is on Zoom. It's harder to read people that way. I would like to think, okay, that most of us as women, the longer we're in business, the more confident, of course, we get, but also too, the less we depend on our femininity. But at the same time, the plus is, I think on the whole, we can be more empathetic and more sympathetic because most of us, not all of us, have that built-in radar for these kinds of things because, the motherhood thing and caretakers that a lot of women are. Not that men don't, but I don't think that most men really connect. And when they don't connect to themselves, I think this is where they start losing some of that empathy, compassion, and stuff. When they're trying to listen to a potential client, say what the problems are or their needs are, I kind of sometimes feel like that's where women kind of have a little bit of an edge.
I think so too. As you talk about that, don't forget you can call in and talk to Carla. It's 720-386-0513 and talk about your business. Talk about anything you want to ask her as we conduct this show about men and women and the competitive ways they react in the business world. Now, as you say, competitive ways in the business world. Do you feel like sometimes men think, oh, she's just a woman, she don't know what she's talking about, I don't know why she's even in this business? Do you see that
Absolutely.
quite a bit?
Yep.
It's like, to me, I get frightened if you have to go up against a woman, like, oh, she's got the competitive edge. I do. I always think like that. I don't know why. It's just because they're logical thinkers, and also they do a lot of critical thinking. You can tell they'll really think it out, and you know they're going to bring the best game to win that contract, win that bid, win that customer, that client, or whatever you're working on. I would say so.
I agree to some extent that there are still, I hate to say, archaic thinking on some men's parts in business as it relates coming up against women. I think probably one of the biggest things that I have noticed is that sometimes men look at approaching projects, collaboration, trying to go after the same client as such competitiveness instead of cooperating and looking at collaborating with that woman in her business to create a much better dynamic and situation
with that
for
woman,
the potential client.
a much better dynamic.
And that's where I think some men have a tendency to miss the boat a little bit, Henry, is because they are focused on the competitiveness instead of broadening their minds. Versus, I think women have a tendency to broaden their minds a little bit when facing certain competition, whether it's against another woman or a man, and start thinking as they're talking or listening to whatever is going on, hey, why don't we find a way to complement each other?
That's right.
Instead of compete with one another, because that can be a win-win situation for everyone.
And collaboration is really key anymore. Like she says, you don't compete, but collaborate, get together. That's power. That's big power. Like if this company gets together with this company, and there are two women, and they come up against you, it's like, we're in trouble, dude. It's real. There's a lot of construction companies that are ran by CEOs that are female. And especially in the construction area, that men think, I'm not sure why they think that they rule, and nowadays they don't. Women have a lot of background in doing all this kind of thing, and they know how to deal with it. But there are some women that are stern and they're rough, and they'll get in there and they'll fire you if you mess up. It's like if you're part of them, and they have no qualm to fire you if they feel like you're not being part of the team.
Right.
Some men will hold you in because you're a cousin, brothers, others, lovers, mother's, son's former roommate, and they'll keep you on, and it just keeps pulling on that company. And so, for females, they don't play with that. They get upset if you're messing up their company because they've worked so hard to make it go.
They think, I think there's a subconscious thought sometimes, like your family.
Yes.
And so it kind of can resonate on the heart a little bit when there is a mess up, because there's probably more of a vision from women to say, let's make this party work, let's make this family work, or let's make this unit work, where men, like you said earlier, just want to get it done. They don't really care so much about the team building and getting along. They just want that end result sometimes to say, we've got this project going, it's running on time, it's running on budget, or whatever they're doing, and make it happen.
And forget about all the other stuff that is critical for running a business, right?
It is. And this is where, though, you look at organizational politics, and you look at the dynamics that go on when working together, whether you're talking about within your own business or you're talking about actually connecting, collaborating with another business to create an end product for that customer. So let me ask you, Henry, if we could narrow all this down to like one really simple question, and that question would be, do you think women are better in business, or do you think men are better in business?
After running the business as a CEO?
Yes.
I would say it's a little bit off center. I would say 65% men are better at it than women at 45, 50, 55 right now. And the reason of that is because women have been pushing so long just to even to vote, and then to even be part of companies, to even move things. Like nowadays, they're finally getting involved. So that would be a hard question to answer, because I think because we're in this time frame, things are moving back to how they should be, where women have equal rights, equal values, equal time to become these people as a CEO of their company or of a big company, and really show how it's done. So they've been, they're compared to everybody else, they're held back so much, I think, and so now to make that assessment, I would think it's kind of hard. So I would say, if they had the equal values that men had from way back, I think women are better at it.
So you kind of feel like, even though and correct me if I'm wrong, even though we're still basically in a society where most small businesses are run by men, that women do a better job? Is that what you're saying?
If they had if they were on the equal playing field.
If they're on an equal playing field.
So now here's the thing, like in soccer, women's soccer, they only get paid so much. Men's soccer, they get paid a lot more. Same with basketball. Women basketball players, NBA, get paid much less. Men get paid much more. Why? So that's the problem, I think, is causing the unevenness here. But I think if it was completely even from the start, women do a better job.
Only
So
in government can women get paid the same as men.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really true.
It is.
Yeah,
I learned that when my second job was working with the city of Detroit. And that's when I started understanding pay scales and structures and what have you. And only in certain situations is there no disparity on gender. But when you're talking about small business, sometimes, I think that women still get the short end of the stick financially for services, because certain industries, like you were talking about construction, on the whole, that's a male-dominated industry, and you think of men in construction, but can a woman run a construction company? Does she know all the ins and outs, and how does that reflect on her pricing and her costs for doing business versus a man?
Right. And so I like the way we're talking about this man versus women and the genders. Okay, and then it also has to do with your, I would say, a lot of the, schooling that you have behind you, or your upbringing, or it's got a lot of other variables that go in hand. So you say a gal comes from Harvard Business School and competing against a guy who comes out of Los Angeles, lower and no high school degree, nothing, but yet he's in the same business.
Right.
There's a variable there, and so she could probably run him over. Who knows? Or he could run her over, even though he's coming out of the ghetto with just street smarts. Because there's a lot of that going on. Even females can be in the street smarts and still outdo a man. It's got to do with the raising of that individual, their educational backgrounds, and how they are conducting themselves in this real world.
I agree.
Wouldn't you say? And some women just can get out there and just do a fabulous job.
And I mean, part of like my Wow for Small Businesses, wowforsmallbusinesses.com is my website. And we talk about being inspired on it, but we talk about being inspired based on what's going on with your business. All right. So if you get on Wow, WOWFORSMALLBUSINESSES.com, just like it sounds, wowforsmallbusinesses.com. There definitely are webinars on there that talk about not just, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to show up today, and I'm going to be confident, I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to get out the bed, and the first three things I'm going to say to myself is, I am successful, I am successful, I am successful. Well, then you go out to the real world, and you're trying to beat the doors down, and then you're competing maybe against someone of the opposite gender for the same contract, and it slaps you in the face.
That's right.
And it's one of those things, though, when you're sitting around and you're thinking, what did I do wrong? And I think
it's always that. What did I do wrong? How come I didn't put that out? I should have said this and not that.
Right.
What if it's their uncle in there and there's no way you're going to win anyway?
And see, and this is what I actually found out being in business a couple of times when I lost contracts. And I was like, what did I do wrong?
It's not
I thought
really
I had this.
Yeah. Better bid. Everything was better.
Right. Right. It was the relationship.
That's right.
And that sometimes, if not all the time, can dominate. It has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with you. Right.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with your business model or platform or what you said or what you didn't say. There are times when the competitor will always beat you out because there are things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. And someone actually had to explain this to me a couple of times when I got totally devastated.
Why didn't I win that? I knew I had it all right.
Yeah, that's okay. And you rethink yourself. You know, you're.
You try to redo. What did I do? I got to read.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't good enough, or maybe I didn't put that proposal. Maybe I missed a word, a period, or something. Now this happened to me, and this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We bid on the contract. We had the contract totally. One of our persons died who was running the systems. And he passed away, and they said, "You're still on. Well, we just send somebody down." We said, "Okay," and we made sure and take care of everybody. And she says, "Come on down in 2 weeks, go over everything, we'll set up somebody new in here." I go, "Okay." I go, "Remember, when we come down, we're going to stay the same. Everything stays the same. Nothing changes." I go, "But whatever you do, don't move to somebody else. Once you do that, there's no coming back to us ever, because I've already experienced this.
Oh.
You can't go fix something that if they start destroying something that they've done." You got to go fix that back up and then start doing what you need to do. It gets costly, and they say, "Well, why is it costing me so much?" Well, you brought somebody else in who really took its toll on your place.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened, and so she calls back. She goes, because she says, "We're no longer going to use you guys," and we went with somebody else. I go, "Okay, remember I told you you can never come back, because we've experienced this twice, and we almost lost a lot of money going in there. Fixing everything back up, didn't get paid."
Oh, goodness.
So we had to eat it. You know, it's like
not a good experience.
Not twice. It hit us twice. So I said, "I don't want it a third time." And so I told her, "There's no way we're going back. Please, please." She begged and begged. She goes, "This guy just destroyed it. He made everything go down. Our emails, everything's gone." It's like, I go, "I'm sorry.
Can't help you.
I can't help you."
Yeah. I think that is definitely.
And you have to make that decision. You know.
That's important.
Yes, because if you do say you feel so bad inside, the empathy kicks in.
Yeah, and if you can feel it, that's good. But you also, if you can relate it to helping other people understand your decisions,
Mm-hmm.
it makes a whole different set of rules for that relationship. So I want to talk a little bit about expectations.
And before we go there, we're going to give out the number again. You can call in right now and talk at 720-386-0513. And I'm going to say it slower. 720-386-0513 if you want to talk. And Carla's ready to talk to you about anything. If you need some books done, if you need something to talk about your business, how to fire, how to hire, anything, she's ready to talk to you. So call in, 720-386-0513.
Yes, so please do call in. So one of the things we would like to hear from you today on is things like expectations. What do you think about men running their business versus women running their small business? Who does a better job? And we're going to I want to talk a little bit about the playbook, what I always call the playbook. I think the playbook comes into importance when you're dealing with people for the first time. And so like I took on a new client this week, real excited. This particular guy, construction, and his complaint was about the old bookkeeper and the CPA that he's dealing with. And so I explained how we do business, okay? And this is what I'm talking about, this playbook. So everybody has a playbook in business, Henry. And whether they know it or not, they need to know it. And they should have it also, too, for their personal relationships. So everybody knows what the starting point is. What's those levels, expectations? Because if you don't know what those expectations are, this is where you get disappointed. You know, so like you already said that you've already had to say to, these
one
couple
client,
of business,
just one client.
That
everybody else was for it, but this one just
you
made boo-boo.
You do this, you can't come back,
That's
okay?
right.
That's part of your playbook. So that's part of that, laying out those expectations so people know what to expect from you.
And the thing is it would be very costly to us if they see the bill and they don't pay. That happened twice. So they said, "Well, I'm not paying this." Well, they're up and running, everything's going, but I'm not paying this. You're not paying this.
Mm-hmm.
And when it happens twice, you think, why did I do that a second time? No, when you say no to them, I'm not doing this a third time.
And see, this though helps you develop your playbook.
And I love the word playbook because that's real.
Uh-huh.
And that's how you play, because if you don't, you can make that critical mistake again and lose a bunch of money again, and that really hurts a business.
Absolutely.
When you're sending people out there, they need to be paid, and you know you got to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're stuck holding the tag, and the other ones are, oh, well, thank you.
And so you talk about like making sure people understand, not just to me, you can tell people this is how you do business, but if you help them to also understand why your playbook is written the way it is,
That's right.
and you create that story behind how your playbook is written, that's a point of connect with that potential client or customer, because then it's like, well, what if they make a mistake? How is that handled? They're not worried about it because you already covered that when you explained how your playbook runs. And it doesn't have to be everything you do, but it has to be those key points that will continue to make or break that person as a long-time customer or a repeat customer. Because businesses run on either repeat customers or long-time customers, basically, and that's it. So, like, where are you in that mix? What is it about your playbook that's going to help your customers or your clients remember the value that you're bringing to the table?
And I'm glad you say that, because a company can become so good, they hardly even have to advertise. The word of mouth alone is huge. One person will tell 10. And because you're doing such a fine job for them, you don't even have to advertise. It's just a word of mouth thing, so repetitively quick and so much and so fast. Sometimes you say, I can't take you on because I have too many already. And that's kind of rare. It's like you can build bigger, but some people don't like to get bigger, because the more large a company becomes, the more headaches you have for yourself. Managing people is big. Like you said, females can, I think, do a better job than males on managing people.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take on that?
I think that women are more sensitive. In my experience in being in business for 20 years, I feel that on the whole, not always, women do a better job of management because of the people skill, the empathy, the compassion, and what have you. On wildforsmallbusinesses.com, there is a couple of webinars, and one of the webinars is your relationship with you. And when I'm talking about the relationship you have with you, it is all about what is it that you know you're really good at. And be happy and proud that you're good at something. But at the same time, that relationship with you webinar is also about what is it that you suck at? What do you know that you're just not good at? And that honesty with yourself.
I have to say so. I'm not good at talking with women in business. No.
He's lying.
I know. I thought I'd say that because it was fitting what we're saying. Because there are some people who, like men, have trouble dealing with women.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're a lower end of the working field or the in charge field of being the CEO or the manager or the main management.
Well, with your relationship with you, that is part of you understanding where your shortcomings are. But that's okay, because I'm glad you put it like that. Just because you have say you're a man, and you know you're not real good at handling, let's say, female clients, that's okay, okay? The thing is, what are you going to do about it? So wildforsmallbusinesses.com, the webinars are there to inspire you, heighten your awareness, heighten who you are, how you operate as a business owner, but also to give you tips to how to fix some problems or handle some challenges. That actually is a real challenge in the world. And I had it on the opposite end. I needed a man to be my front. So what do? You literally, you go out and you get that person that is going to help get you over that hump. So for me, what I started getting against was some cultural norms. I was dealing with some, I don't know, people are attracted to me for some weird reasons. I have some Egyptian clients, some Salvadorian clients, some Brazilian clients, Ethiopian, and it's just, and there's some cultural things. Well, I found out one of the cultural things is that the men in business didn't like to deal with me as a woman, even though they wanted my services.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
How it works. It's a cultural thing, too.
It was a cultural thing. It had
Because
nothing to do
women
with
have to
gender.
walk behind the men in some cultures.
Still.
Still to this
Mhm.
day, and so women are considered the lower spectrum of the family values. You know, it's like you're not the head. I'm the head. I'm the man, and you're just the
Mhm.
woman.
And well, what it did though, it was a conscious raising moment when I found out what was going on, and so I got my old time friend and business partner, who's also well, he's a CPA. I got him involved with the business, and I was like, "You're going to be my front man, okay? Because you know everything about the business that I know, but you're a man, okay?" And it worked like a charm. I found out like when there was anyone lacking confidence in me, or if it was I have someone else to talk to besides you, you know, it's your
Yeah.
boss, you know, I'm like, sure, here's my boss, okay? And I would direct them to David, and then David would handle the situation or close the contract or whatever. And that works sometimes.
And it's funny you say that because you're a female, they want to see the boss or whatever. You know, it works also in the racial spectrum of it, too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Hispanic, Latino, or if you're supposed, I don't like the word black, I don't know why, because, you know, the hue of the skin is not black to me in some cases, so you can't say that with everybody, but, or they'll use your last name as a way, like, where's your boss? May I speak to the owner of the place? Okay. Let me go get him.
Just a minute.
And you go back there and come walking back out. Hi. Damn it.
Yes.
Or if you're a female and they said, let me go get the female, you know, or let me go get the boss. And they walk right past you. And is the boss here? Okay, just a second, I'll go get her. There she is right there. And you can see the look on their face that they don't want to deal with you because you're female. Or you're not supposed to be in that capacity of
Right.
being the boss or the CEO. It's like, it's just eye-opening. It's like, it's fun too. It's like
Well, gender definitely is a barrier, and ethnic background is a barrier. Dealing with people of color sometimes is a barrier. Dealing.
Now, can we talk
know.
about that? When you talk about, a lot of people say dealing with people of color. Now, when they say color, what colors are we talking about? Like the reds, the oranges, the purples? And see, when I hear that a lot, so, and then back in the old day, they used to say this, and this is really strange to me. I never got it. That's a colored person. Colored person. And I'd always ask, what color are they? Did they get into the crayons or what? You know, I could never get that one.
Yeah.
That one didn't fly right. And then the females also, like, you know, that was another one they were saying, she's the boss? They'd always say it that way, like, who died and left her in charge? You know, that kind of thing was, man.
Right.
It's like some of the most incredible females have done the most incredible things. And I was watching the thing about the Vanderbilts. And you hear about the lady Vanderbilt and how she built this big empire. She brought it back up from where it collapsed. And you think, man, that's a bright woman. You know, she took what was left of what was gone of the railroads and all the big setups that they would do before, and she recreated it, revamped it up, and got it to become very wealthy again. It's like, that's the power of a woman. That's what I say. You know, it's like, oh, wow.
Sometimes
and she's pretty, and she looked good. You know,
she's a good-looking woman, huh?
Yeah, and that's what even made it even better.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, there's still sexist in the world. But going back to the terminology, people of color, the easiest way to really say this is if they're just non-Caucasian. So if you and that
yeah,
is,
I like the word Caucasian. I don't like the word white. Now that don't make sense. That's a color.
It is.
That's
it
not
is.
a race, is it?
It is. So
it's not a race, is it?
No.
Black or white or not, those are colors.
But I mean, you're. It's the thing is that we are so judgmental.
Yes.
And
for that.
Whether we're looking at someone because of the gender thing, or we're looking at someone because of the skin tone or the features, basically you just got two sides to this. you've got Caucasian and you've got people of color.
Yeah.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is that people of color far outweigh the Caucasians. So if we have our Caucasians just with their roots mostly in Europe, you have Asians, you have Hispanics, you have Latino, you have mulattoes, you have multiracial, and it just goes on and on and on. All these are people of color. It's not just the shades of brown. It just means,
Yeah.
non-Caucasian. The thing is, and this is why I actually love certain cities like Aurora,
Yeah.
because they are known for the diversity and known for not just the people of color, but the people of color that are speaking all different languages, that have all different cultural impacts into our society, that really, as they say, take that vanilla and, spice it up a little bit, because we can all have something we bring to the table, because our perspectives in business, our perspectives of living our lives and dealing with each other in our communities.
Now you can call in at 720-386-0513. We're waiting for you to call so we can talk to Carla. She's going to give you some good advice on anything you want, any subject you want to talk about. We got plenty of time, so we're going to, because we said we're going to take this a little longer, because last week it seemed like it took a while for anybody to call in. So if you're listening right now, watching, we're on a different kind of format now, but we know that you're watching and stuff. Call in at 720-386-0513, and you can talk to us direct here in the studio and talk to Carla. And she can bring all kinds of good advice to you and your business, as well as your books, whatever you need. You can call in right now, 720-386-0513. Now, here's an interesting one, too. You know how you say people of color and people, women, especially women of color. There's always that fabric of, like you say, they always say African American, but they don't say European American or German American or.
Right.
I don't hear none of that, and I'm not sure why we don't.
I really think that came out of the sensitivities of racial identification in the 90s, and even to some extent into the 80s, where there was just, and I tell you the truth, I don't know why it needed to change, but I guess it's like going from that whole identification thing to try to be more racially sensitive. I mean, we've gone through this whole period of racial sensitivity. Let's be more aware of what is coming out of our mouths and how it's coming out of our mouths when we're addressing and identifying with people who are not of the same background as us. But I look at a lot of that rooted into the history of America and racial tensions there, and the name calling and the slurs and all like that. I mean, you still have, I don't know, people still say words like chink anymore about the Asians.
You're going to like this one. Back in the day, they used to always refer to me as a spick. And I thought that was a cool word. I didn't know what it meant. I really didn't know. Yeah, ooh, cool. What's up? I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. So, and it's the variables of life that people create these things. Now, I was watching a program on Channel 6 about Muhammad Ali. He was a freedom fighter from way back, and he got done winning the championship, and he comes into this restaurant, and he was trying to order something, and the lady comes and says, well, we don't serve something. I forgot how he put it. He goes, well, I didn't want that. I forgot how he put it. But they were not wanting to serve him in the restaurant, even though he was big and mighty out of he just came back from the games, and they treated him like crap here. But he went to prison for fighting, not going to war. He says, why do I have to go fight, some people I don't even know 6,000 miles away, and some brown people when I'm having trouble with you here? Maybe I should be fighting you. It's true, yeah. That's what happened. They put him in prison. They did all kinds of things to him, and he still reigned the champion, and was the biggest boxer of all time. Everybody knows
Mhm.
Muhammad Ali. He even changed his name from Cassius Clay, which
Mhm.
was a slavery type name,
Mhm.
and changed it to Muhammad Ali.
Mhm.
But it was really an interesting program, and to watch all this. And I remember when you and I have lived those times, and when we were
Yes.
younger, we would see all these things, and we would experience a lot of it, you know. So, and even in my high school, even though I had straight A's, my counselor says you're just not college material.
Well, you know what?
It's like, okay.
See, but see, you have to look at where that's coming from.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know.
I did.
And I think that what a lot of times we forget is what's going on at the time.
Mhm.
Okay, so if everybody's into this big thing at this this decade of slavery and oppression and feeling superior because the skin thing is different or the economics are different or the social status is different, then everybody's on board at that time with that. Jump ahead, where are we at now? What is it that everyone wants to be on board
Still the same
for?
thing. They were out there protesting. They still want to go out there and mow them down. Get them out of there. Black lives matter. All lives matter. They try to dilute it with all lives matter. Everybody matter. It's like, I watched it in the 60s. I watched it in the 70s. I watched it in the 80s. I watched it in the 90s.
You should be watching it now.
And we're still watching it.
We're still watching it. We're still watching it.
But why?
But you talk about Muhammad Ali and you talk about what we're really about. So like wildforsmallbusinesses.com is about sitting there and getting over those challenges.
That's right.
Sometimes what we are thinking is that everybody's out here attacking us, okay? Everybody's doing something to us. When in reality, sometimes what that really is your wake-up call to get to action, to get to saying, I'm going to make a change. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to meet and beat this challenge, whatever it is, whether it's a business challenge, whether it's a social challenge, organizational, political challenge, whether it's I just can't get up and run my business today because I want to stay in bed challenge. I don't know.
Don't you ever want to do
what's
that?
In your mind. It's what's in your mind and how determined are you really going to be.
Carla, what drives you in the morning? Do you say, oh, God, I feel like, for me, I feel like the cereal, Rice Krispies.
You feel like the cereal?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta hear. We gotta stop this and hear this story. He feels like the Rice Krispie cereals.
Yeah, when I get out of bed, it's snap, crackle, pop.
Okay, well that's just your body and your age talking. That's all that
Even
is.
the mind, it's like, where am I at? Wait a minute, what room is this?
That's good. What gets you up and gets you motivated in the morning? What's that number again that they can call? Because I want to hear from somebody.
720-386-0513. And several were saying they were going to call in. I'm wondering why they're not calling in. They're texting me, what time are you guys going on? And I said, 12 noon, call in, we're waiting.
Hurry up.
Now watch, they'll start calling in. Okay, they're off, let's call them now. 720-386-0513. So I had 2 or 3 saying, okay, can we call in?
Mm-hmm.
So I jetted them the number, because I had it
Mm-hmm.
posted everywhere. If you've seen it, I was pushing it everywhere. Call, talk to the lady right here. She's right here in front of you. Carla Bond is ready to talk to you. 720-386-0513. We're waiting.
Okay.
I know the phone's working because I'm looking at it.
All right, so good question that you threw out there. You said, what gets you up in the morning? WildForSmallBusinesses.com gets me up in the morning, okay? The thing is this, every morning when I wake up, my thoughts are always the same, which seems boring already. But we all have our routines.
Breakfast?
I don't believe it or not.
Coffee.
Sometimes coffee. This was a coffee moment today. And my thoughts are, one, what do I want to do? So today it was like a no-brainer because I'm an aqua fitness instructor. I'm a certified aqua fitness instructor, and I had to take someone's class today. I never take during the week, but I knew it was coming, so I was like, I already know what my exercise is. Check that off, okay? And then it's followed with how long is my prayer and meditation going to be? For those that know me and those that don't know me, I am a practicing Buddhist with the I live Seven Hills District in Aurora, Colorado. And so getting up every morning to chant is real important, and to do my gonyo. And what that is it's the liturgy and prayers that we also give thanks and gratitude for all those that came before us. So part of the let's get up moment is, what are your first thoughts when you wake up? Well, mine's is, what's happening with my body, what's happening with my soul? Those are my first thoughts. Followed by, now, what's on my list of things to do?
A lot of things, though, too. You have a lot going on.
I do.
So call in and let's talk to her. 720-386-0513. Carla Vaughn is ready to talk to you about anything. Feel free to call in. 720-386-0513. And let's talk to Carla. And see what you have to say. We're ready to take the phone calls, and we've been waiting. There's 2 or 3 who wanted to call, and they wanted to call around 12, but I mean, we were just a little bit delayed, and I'm sure they could have waited and just called in. So it's 720-386-0513. Call Carla. Let's talk to her.
Yeah, I would love to know from the audience, what gets you up in the morning, okay? What are your first thoughts? Believe it or not, those very first thoughts in the morning can set the tone for your entire day.
Okay, so what if it's, oh, God, I gotta go to the bathroom. Bad.
Okay, well, that's just a bodily function, okay?
That was my first thought. I better get up and go take care of this.
Take care of that. That's a bodily function.
But
you get it off your brain.
then your eyeballs aren't floating, so you can start thinking again, and wonder what you're going to do for your business. Now, prioritizing what you have to do is really critical in your business, and especially if you're thinking about your business. Prioritizing everything completely. Number one, this has to be taken care of, because if you don't, things can go really bad for you if you're not, watching what you're doing. What would you say?
I would say priorities are very important. And I do a lot of networking, and sometimes we do have a conversation about priorities. So some people feel like priorities is what's most important, and then others feel like, out of what's most important, what is going to take either the longest time or the shortest time.
That's correct.
And then other people look at priorities of, is this going to make me money now, or is this going to make me money later?
Right.
So when you're looking at priorities, Henry, you also have to delve into you as a business owner, what that is really defined as. Is your priority based on time, or is it based on money, or is it based on the urgency of response to the client? What is making it a priority?
So go ahead and call in if you have a small business, whether it be a bookkeeping business, a salon. If you want to talk about your salon, call in 720-386-0513. Let's talk to Carla Vaughn about what you want to talk about your small business and how it is to run it on your own. You don't have to, you can be anonymous.
Yes.
You don't have to tell us your name or anything. Just call in 720-386-0513 and let's talk to Carla. We got a few more minutes. We got at least 6 more minutes, and we said we were going to do an hour because we know how everybody likes to get on at the end.
Yes.
So we've been noticing that. So call in 720-386-0513.
And if for some reason you do miss calling in today, or you want to be super anonymous, go on our website, wowforsmallbusinesses.com, totally spelled out, just like that, and do the contact us page and ask the question through sending us an email.
That's right.
So you can do that as well. So you can do the contact us on wowforsmallbusinesses.com if you would just want to ask a question about, like, hey, every time I get up in the morning, I have no positive thoughts. What can I do to change that? I'm struggling with my business. I'm struggling with my life, whatever.
Not like me. Where am I at?
Where's my coffee? Where's the bathroom?
That's right.
No, when you get past that, okay?
Well, I have the coffee set for automatic, so I go, smells good. Time to go to the restroom. I'm up.
A lot of times when we're in business and we're we know we want to do better. We know we need to change. You've got to start with the plan on how you're going to change and how you're going to change. What does that look like for you? What does that mean for you? And on top of it, when are you going to do it? The answer to when should always be now. It should be this moment.
Wow and now.
Yeah, do wow now.
That really has it resonates, doesn't it?
Do
wow now.
So do words of wisdom now. So start your mornings off with words of wisdom. And I am going to say that. I'm going to say get a subscription to our webinars. The webinars can be life-changing if you are paying attention and you're listening.
That's
Okay?
Right. 720-386-0513. Let's call us now. And I don't know why everybody's so afraid. And then, like I said, watch when we get off, they won't they'll start calling.
Don't worry about being afraid. We all have fear. So one of the things I talk about in some of my webinars is the fact that our lives run one of two ways. You can only run your life out of love or out of fear, Henry.
That's right.
You can't do it
Both,
okay? It's got to be one or the other. All right. Now, will you fluctuate between the two? Sometimes, yes. But overall, how do you run your life? So when you run your life more out of love, when you're facing challenges, when you're trying to get over the hump, when you're worried about money, contracts, whatever it is that is making your business float or not float, sink, you can look at it as a loving perspective versus fear, which is from the first time there's a bump in the road and you trip and fall, you say, "Oh my God, I hurt my knee. I got to go out of business. I can't do this anymore." Okay, because fear is taking you over about failure, and that is not where you want to start your day off. So when you engage in the webinars, wowforsmallbusinesses.com, you can start your webinar in the morning, and instead of saying, "I've got to work on positive attitude," just play the webinar about elevating yourself. Play the webinar about prosperity. Play the webinar about the 10 commandments of prosperity, something like that, and get your day going and say, "I'm going to have a better day from this point forward."
Let me tell you about this female who has a show here. Her name is Rhonda Shea. And she developed breast cancer a while back, 5 years ago, and went through all the chemo, went through everything, beat it, came out of it. She's still in here doing her show for the last 3 years.
Awesome.
And then she wanted to talk to me in the back and about her schedule. She never does that. So I go, "Talk to me in the back about your schedule." So I went back there. She told me, "My cancer's back." I go, "Oh my gosh." And so she has to go through all these processes and stuff. She has such a good positive attitude. She used the happy meter. And you know how you say fear or love. Hers is, she called it a happy meter. And some people, their happy meter will run really hot. And so she says mine and hers kind of collide all the time because we both have these happy meters. And so let me tell you how she called me yesterday. And I hadn't heard from her because I was waiting for her to, stop with all her going to the doctor and the hospital and everything. You'll never believe what she said. She is so funny. I almost wrecked the car because it was so funny.
Uh-oh.
She says, "Hey, Henry." Well, she had mastectomy, is that what it's called?
Yes.
And she says, "Henry, have you seen my tits? I seem to have lost my tits." I go, "Oh, Rhonda."
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
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 That is so funny, is how she has this positive attitude and how she's still upbeat and her happy meter was up. No fear. And that's what she said. "I appreciate everything I have. I appreciate you." She said all these wonderful things, and I was saying that the spirit inside of her was still so vibrant and so happy, aside from all these things that are afflicting her.
See, that says it all.
Yes.
Stories like that say it all.
And she kept going on with these jokes, and I go, "Stop it, Rhonda."
It makes a difference.
It does.
It doesn't matter sometimes all the things bombarding you, whether they're bodily changes, life changes, relationship changes, business changes. It is what perspective are you going to, what's your takeaway?
That's right.
And her takeaway obviously is, I am not my body.
That's right.
Okay? My body is part of me, but that's not my limit. I am a person in here, and I'm a loving person. I still have a lot to give, a lot of life to live, and all like that. So she does live out of love, and I love that happiness meter.
Yeah, and that happy meter, and that was so cool. She has a show here entitled WTF, What the Fish Fry. what the frogs, but it really stands for you know what.
Uh-huh.
But she jokes so much, and her show is big here, and it's like, and she had to shut it down. I told her we have to do what we have to do, Rhonda, but you're always welcome back. She just wanted to call and say, I'm coming back. I go, Rhonda, it's like, take your time. Heal up and get going. But she jokes so much and says the most funniest things. It's like, you could just sit there listening to her. And it's almost like speaking to somebody who's in comedy or something.
Well, when you get hired on a job, don't they say attitude 75% of you getting the job? It's not whether you can do it or not. It's that attitude that you bring to the table.
It's just like, there's that one story where the guy's racing up to come to an interview, and he's trying to beat this one gal to the parking spot. And he parks it there in anyway and flips her off, and she goes and parks elsewhere and goes in and goes and sits down. And the gal says, "You're here. I'm here for an interview. I hope I'm not late." "No, you're not late. But the main lady who's going to probably interview you is coming in here shortly." And guess who it was? The lady he just ran out of the parking lot and flipped off.
Yeah.
He just stood up and said, "Never mind."
Sometimes you have to do that.
That means the woman
that
you just you just did that to is in charge. She's the CEO. So always remember that women control things. Now, I told this one guy the other day, I says, don't call a woman birdheads. Don't talk nasty.
Birdheads.
Don't say nothing negative about any woman. And the reason why I say don't say anything negative about any woman is because you never know you're going to be in the Social Security line, or you're going to be at the DMV getting your license or something. There's the birdhead. And she's going to look at you with a smile and says, "Can you go sit down and wait for a second? I'm busy." And then you'll be waiting an hour, and don't ever do that. Women are in charge in a lot of places, whether it be big, large, or small. They are part of us. And so I always look at it that way. And honey always goes further than vinegar. You and I both know that. A big smile lights up their day. You always smile real big and be happy with them, because they can do the same to you. Or they can, she could be the judge up there. Jail for 90 days.
Well, thing is some of it's just respect, gender respect. We all come from mothers. We have sisters, aunts, cousins, things like that are female. We have to look at, we have a place in societies these days where we're no longer substandard individuals. We're way past the suffrage movement. Okay, we have rights to vote, own property, and make decisions, and have money in the bank. Okay, but some of it again is attitude and perception, and that playbook and culture. A lot of this always comes into play. I think sometimes the biggest thing I say is know your audience. Okay,
that's right.
But also to be extremely careful in business about burning bridges, because once that bridge is burned, sometimes all the cedar wood and nails and hammering won't put that bridge back together.
Don't forget to call in right now. Call in and let's talk to, if you want to talk to Carla, just go ahead and call in our number, 720-386-0513. Come on, let's call in. Let's have some fun here. Don't be afraid. I know you're watching. You're all just sitting back watching, and that's just the name of this game. I don't know why. It's in this type. If it's social, girl versus guy in the social area, we get lots of calls, but the business end, I could tell that they just hold back, and they just hold back. Sometimes they'll call in and get after you, and it takes a little while. 720-386-0513. And one of my philosophies and one of my words of wisdom and words I always say is, women are God's gift to men. Ooh, so that's what I live by, and I know this, and so you never disrespect them, no matter what capacity they're in. Like if they're in the CEO office or they're down sweeping the floors and mopping and stuff, you still treat them all good, because that's the way it rolls.
Well, I'll tell you what a Egyptian man told me, who was a friend of my ex-husband's. He said,
one of the,
one of them, many ex-husbands. We won't tell you which one. And he was some kind of businessman. And he says, "I'll tell you what they tell me in my country." And I was like, what is it? Because I don't know, even now we got on the subject of who should be the leader in a relationship, the man or the woman. And does this transcend the household, or is this work, or whatever? And he says, in the household, we say that the men are the head of the family. And then he followed it, and he turned and he said, but the women are the neck. And I always remembered that because it takes two. It takes two to make a good balance. And sometimes this is why you have very successful relationships with men and women being in business together under the same company or companies or organizations that collaborate, is that there is that complement.
Now, how come they always have this out there? Women, can you cook? Why, can't you? I guess you don't know how.
Because their moms didn't teach them, or they didn't watch YouTube, or figure out how to read a cookbook.
But why do they have to? Men could cook. I was taught that.
Yeah.
My mom taught me, you make sure you learn how to cook, clean,
Mhm.
sew, everything.
That's
I go,
'cause she
why? For in case you run out of women to go around with.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody should be self-sufficient.
Yes, you should know.
But
how to do all
I
these
think
things.
that though still goes back to a lot of that tradition and gender roles where women took care of the household, men went out and, killed the animals and brought them home and,
That's crazy.
did the
It goes
learn how
way
to
back
learn
that
how
far,
to
right.
strip the meat and do beef jerky and all that stuff from day number one. I think in this day and age, there definitely is a lot more equity and partnerships in the home as well as outside of the home where men and women share responsibilities.
That's right. Nowadays, it takes two people working full-time in almost two jobs and still barely making it. The way they have this financial system all upended. And I think it shouldn't be like this. The low end of, they're trying to take it up to what, $15 for the
Mm-hmm.
for the amount of money you make. It used to be $7.50, and they can't move it off there. I can't see why, but everything else is super high. How do you live? How do you make it? Even with your own business, you have to raise prices. You got to know when and how, and that way it justifies your travel time, your time spent just doing certain things. Some people just look at, oh, I'm just going to charge you this much, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about that travel time, the gas money, just everything. Everything has to be sunk cost. If you don't have sunk costs in there somewhere to
Mm-hmm.
justify how much you're charging, you say, okay, I got the contract, but boy, that didn't pay me
Right.
much after all that.
Right. One thing actually I just did, so there's a webinar under wowforsmallbusiness.com called Elevate Yourself. And on Elevate Yourself, that particular one is about changing to look at improving what you're doing. So under Elevate Yourself, one of the things I talk about is elevating your business, okay, and about that charging. And it's that you have to look at, you deserve it, especially the longer you're in business. You got to give yourself a pay raise. But also, too, you have to justify that pay raise with added value. And this is sometimes what people forget. Like the guy I was just talking to who I bought on a Monday, great guy named Travis. Travis said, every year prices would go up on, say, the taxes or the bookkeeping. And I'd say, okay, well, yeah, but why? And he said, I never knew. I said, did they add something to improve your customer experience? He said, like what? I said, like actually going over your finances with you, or offering you some incentive, or offering you a discount on something else, or giving you more customer service, or a gift card, or something, I don't know. And he said, no, none of that ever happened. And this is where a lot of business people kind of fail in that. You can't just raise your prices and not add any value.
That's
okay?
Right.
You can't just think that, okay, I need a raise. Well, yeah, we all need a raise. Okay, but how are you justifying that raise? Where are you saying, I need this raise because what? I need this raise because now I'm certified in this specialty, so I can offer more qualified services. I'm more confident and competent. Yes, that's great.
I love the way you put that, because when you are 8 years old, 10 years old as a business, that's great. When you're 15 years old, that's sensational. When you're 20 or 25 years old, if you don't have good rates to compensate you for what you've learned, what you've done, and how many people love your services,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be in business.
Right. So
because you got to elevate.
Yeah, you do. You need to elevate.
Well, why do you cost so much? Because I know what I'm doing. Why did it only take you 5-10 minutes? And it's not how fast I do it, it's what I know.
doctors.
Mhm.
Doctors that specialize, they went the extra step.
Right.
Okay, so even if they're specializing, saying in eye care, and they spend 15 or 20 minutes with you, and it costs twice as much as going to a regular MD to look at your eyes, you are already seeking out someone who's a specialist in that field.
Yes.
Right, right. So that makes a difference. So when you're looking at like wowforsmallbusinesses.com and you're looking at some of the webinars, look at the stuff that resonates with you. What is it you need to make yourself better today and tomorrow and next month and next week? So we encourage you to get a subscription and get on the site. There's a free webinar there, so you can kind of see how the webinars go, see that it offers not just motivation and inspiration, but gives you an opportunity to learn something to improve yourself as a business owner or as a person or both, because ultimately that's what I believe in. I believe we are all awesome individuals, awesome people that are just sometimes waiting to happen. All we need sometimes is a little extra push or that little extra word of wisdom that says, I am going to get up today, and my first thoughts are going to be, I am successful. I don't care what happened yesterday, because yesterday's over. But starting this morning, this minute, I am successful, or I am great, or I am confident, or I am loving, or I am fair, or I am ethical. Whatever you need to say to yourself, to say, these are my words of wisdom for today.
That was beautifully said, and I'm glad you guys joined us. And for those 3 who were asking for the phone number prior to this, I don't know where you disappeared. You ghosted us. That's a new word out there. Ghosting.
Yeah, ghosted. We got ghosted today.
It's funny. It's like, I can't believe. I mean, where are you at now? It's like 386 or 720-386-0513. One last chance before we're going to give you 1 minute. If you don't call in, we're closing it out, because that much time already went by. 1 hour solid.
Yes.
That was really nice. That was really nice. I really enjoyed today's program, and we're going to see how well it does. So, with that being said, if you don't, I don't see this thing lighting up, and I had 3.
Tears today from me, everybody. Tears. I'm crying. I gotta work on my challenges and not feeling rejected or ghosted or anything now.
Don't you hear that word now? Have you heard that?
Yes.
There's these new words that have cropped up with the social media sites, and there's all these different variables. But those are true. Sometimes you'll be really texting back and forth to somebody, and they just disappear, and you don't hear from them till the next day. Like, hey, you didn't answer me. Oh, I'm sorry, I got busy. And they have a ton of excuses. Saying, wait a minute, you had time right then and there. There's no such thing as not having time. That's something. No, that's not right. I don't know.
Well, when you're truly ghosted, though, it's not that they won't get back to you that day or the next days. They never get back.
That's right. They never get back to you.
That's totally different. They just
gone.
Puff of smoke.
Well, the ones that still, even when you're engaged and you're going back and forth, end it. Say, I got to go now. Goodbye. Don't just. And then there's a question that you just asked, and it's really important to take care of some sort of business. They leave you hanging. Go, oh, shoot.
Normally, if I have to cut someone off, I say I'm driving.
Yeah, I'm driving.
So or meeting or something.
Yes, but you're good about it. Some won't. They'll just.
Yeah.
And then it's a question that you just ask them. Okay, so how much shall we charge? How much shall we charge? I asked you how much we charge.
Question mark.
Yeah, and then
over and over.
You use the word tap. You use the word tap. Okay, so. And you lose the deal. That's happened to me several times. You lose the deal.
It's kind of tough.
Yeah, you can't get the response. So.
Well, if you would like to respond to us, go for wowforsmallbusinesses.com. Just hit on the contact page, ask a question, reach out, or if you have any questions about the website, the webinars, how things run, the benefit that it's going to help you with in terms of being in business long term, because I am really behind people being in business long term. So this is great if you're a startup or in the growth phase of business. Go to wowforsmallbusiness.com, push the subscribe button, start waking up every morning, every week, every month with a different attitude, a different you, to be more powerful and confident in business.
And what's nice about what we had to do today, it's like quick thinking. We had to move to the going broadcasting this way instead of our Mevo camera. Our Mevo camera decided to do its little update in the middle of it. That happens. Things like that happen in business. And you have to be prepared and think quickly.
Right.
And so we did. And so we still got the broadcast on both the cameras. The camera there and the camera down here. And so we're going to talk to you later. Until next time, we'll have back with words of wisdom. Be inspired. Don't forget, with Carla Vaughn, it's called Wow. And she wowed us again today.
Thank you, Henry.
Now, what was it that we coined? It was
Wow for now.
wow for now.
New slogan.
Yeah, it's a commonly coined phrase. Just like, we have the company called Gee Whiz Computers. Well, it used to be computer, but you can't say that. So everybody always says, Gee Whiz.
Right.
And so we commonly coined that. So it's commonly coined phrases for business names is always the way you want to go. And so that way people remember you, especially wow. That's a good one.
Wow for now.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom for now.
Take care now. See y'all later.
Oh, well.